Ladies and gentlemen of Machinima Realm, how is everybody doing today? This is Force here, bringing you yet another StarCraft 2 commentary. Today's matchup that we will be looking at is between MTW's RINE and TroY. Now we do have RINE here as our yellow Protoss player in the upper left, and here in the bottom left is TroY as the green Zerg, and we are on the map Crevasse. This is a very, very cool map, aesthetically, visually, I love it. I think it's beautiful, phenomenal, really fun to cast on, really fun to play on as well. If you haven't seen it, we'll take a quick tour around. As you can see, there's an expansion here at the back of the main base, and then the natural expansion right out front. The front ramp actually has these destructible debris here. Now, this is kind of a normal-sized ramp right here, but clearly once these destructible debris gets taken care of, then it's a much larger and much more difficult ramp to contend with, especially as a Protoss or Terran player dealing with a Zerg opponent. Once this ramp gets dropped, you have to worry about such a large block-off and coming out with those additional buildings to prevent Zerglings from running right into your main. We can see right now TroY moving across the map here with the Overlord, and he will be heading off to the bottom right position, which is unfortunately for him the incorrect position. Looks like RINE doing the proper thing, of course, and coming off of that wall off. There's the pylon. Expect the gateway to be placed either here or in this position. One or the other is what I would certainly expect. Looks like RINE is actually also holding off on that scouting probe until probably after he drops the gateway. I expect him at that point to push out. You do, of course, always want to scout either after the first pylon or after that gateway, because you do need to know if any sort of cheese or rush or anything fancy is going on. But, uh-oh, look at this. RINE coming out with an incredibly fast expansion. You know, we see things like Forge fast expand, but going straight into a second Nexus before any other building, that, my friends, is very, very ballsy. I'm going to have to assume that a Forge gets placed down. Yes, it will. He will have to rely on photon cannons as early game defense. He would not be able to get up a gateway, the Zealot and the Cybernex core in time to deal with early rushes. He needs that photon cannon to actually be able to prevent himself from losing early game, given the fact that he's come out with such a quick expansion. Back over here for TroY, it looks like he himself has gone for a quick expansion, but this is pretty much usual for a Zerg player. Zerg players much more comfortable with fast expansions, just relying on Zerglings and Spine Crawlers and Queens early game is usually more than enough of defense, so fast expanding isn't that much of a concern. We can see right now RINE scouting out the main base. He's checking a few things. First, checking the expansion. He's checking, of course, the timing of that pool, and he also wants to look for when and if any extractors are down. Now, we can see TroY actually deciding to come out with his extractor at his expansion as opposed to at his main, something you actually don't see very, very often, but given the fact that this isn't a typical map and his expansion is nice and safely tucked away inside of his main base, this is not an issue at all. Coming out with the expansion at your natural expansion, coming out with the extractor at your natural expansion would be a cause for concern, because any attacks early game could be an issue, and it looks like In Heartbeat has left the game, whatever the hell that means. He was obviously a spectator or a referee or whatever you want to call it. Back over here for RINE, there's his gateway, photon cannon coming in as well. TroY getting that scouting information, spotting that super fast expansion, and then obviously seeing that Forge and cannon coming through as well. He knows with this information that he cannot expect, or he shouldn't have to worry about any sort of early game aggression from RINE. Now his next major concern is something like a 6 or 7 gate level 1 timing push, or maybe even a transition into Void Rays or Colossus. There are all sorts of possibilities, but from this point forward, TroY just really needs to make sure he does get some good scouting down, and secondary scouting to see precisely what his opponent's doing. Can see right now, positioned with his Overlord. Later on, he will be moving it into the main base of RINE. This is fully expected. That secondary scouting is so necessary just to check precisely what they are going for. We can see RINE actually leaving that one minimal space there for that first Zealot. Not too concerned about coming out with it yet, though. I think he had the scouting. He had enough scouting to realize. Oh no, his first Zealot's up here dealing with this extractor, and there's the Stargate. So there you go. We are actually going to see RINE transition into either Phoenix or Void Ray play. Either or is an option. This one cannon is enough defense for him at the moment, and he is also coming out with this sentry. We can see that being chrono boosted out as of right now. TroY, realizing that super fast expansion did come out from RINE, is deciding to come out with a third himself, and this certainly isn't a bad idea. Coming out with a third in response to a quick expansion from your Protoss opponent can actually do very, very well for you, because as I mentioned prior, that fast expansion implies super early aggression not going to be possible for RINE, so he's actually pretty safe to come out with this third. But once more, he does need to keep an eye out and see what is going on for his opponent, and here it comes, that Overlord secondary scout moving out at about 6:30 game time. And he will be looking for production buildings, and it looks like he is, in fact, going to spot that. Yes, he is spotting the Stargate. You can even see, he can see the fact that it is a Void Ray, so now he knows Void Rays are coming into play. It is time to prepare myself to deal with that. What is his response likely to be? Well, I expect to see Spore Crawlers 1, but some additional Queens are certainly going to be a good idea as well. Queens do very, very well against Void Rays early game, especially in small numbers. With Transfuse, 2 or 3 Queens can handle a decent amount of Void Rays, and that's precisely, again, what I expect TroY to do. So hopefully we do see him come out with some Void Rays. Either that, or we can see he's coming out with that layer. So he may actually possibly be waiting to try to come out with some Hydras, but in the meantime, getting an extra Queen or 2 wouldn't be the worst of ideas, because here comes that first Void Ray moving across the map right now for RINE. We'd have a couple more Zerglings coming out right now as well for TroY. TroY not really in the position to push against RINE at this point in the game, but just wants some Zerglings just in case to deal with some early game aggression from any ground units. Also try to get some semblance of map control, grabbing the Xel'Naga towers. We can see these Zerglings actually might be able to engage that Zealot, and if they do, they should take him out. There we go. Now the Zealot doing the right thing and pinning himself in the corner, making it very difficult for the Zerglings to get us around, and actually Void Rays will be pulling back to deal with those Zerglings. So Zerglings trying to take out the Zealot. They will be able to get it, but not without taking heavy losses to both the Zealot and the Void Rays. 2 Void Rays on the map right now. We've got another Queen just about to pop here at that 3rd expansion. Good job here by TroY, continuing up this creep spread, trying to connect all of his bases, sitting right now with the 3 creep tumors. But here come the 2 Void Rays for harassment. Now where is the layer is up? Do we have a Hydra Den coming out or in? No, we do not. Actually, just relying on those Spore Crawlers and his base set of Queens, deciding to not come out with any of those additional Queens. And still no other anti-air units at all. A little bit surprised, in all honesty. Given the fact that there are 3 Void Rays right now, I am not certain that it will be enough. Now, this is good Spore Crawler placement, and it'll do a great job of defending his resource and his income line. But here comes the push right now. Void Rays will be able to quickly target down, and not enough energy for Transfuse, so see you later, Spore Crawler. And then we'll start to try to go to work here. We do have that 2nd Queen pulling down for some reinforcement, and that other Queen moving down here as well. So we'll be 3 Queens and a Spore Crawler to try to deal with this Void Ray harass. Now we did see a Robotics Bay getting placed down, and where is it? There it is. So RINE will be moving into a transition of Colossus, and that will certainly do very well against any Roach Hydra mix army that TroY may have. Now specifically, the Colossus do much better against the Hydralists, but not terrible against those Roaches. As long as you keep those Roaches at bay and out of range of your Colossus, then you're actually able to do pretty well. And here we go, Void Rays, again, trying to engage right now. A little bit fearful of those Queens. As mentioned prior, you can see how effective those Queens are, and with just Queens and Spore Crawlers, actually able to fend off most of the harassment from these 3 Void Rays. So very nice play there by TroY. Sitting over here with a couple of Zerglings doing a little bit of spotting, little scouting action to see if any push comes, and it looks like yes, we will be seeing a push very shortly from RINE. He does have that first Colossus out right now. Looks like he will be chrono boosting out a 2nd Colossus as well. How many gateways is he sitting on? Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whoa, boy, what is that? That is, wow, sitting at 8 gateways right now, quite a bit. So we'll be doing an 8-gate push plus Colossus. That is actually a lot to try to deal with, or a lot to try to produce off of just these 2 bases. But obviously, RINE going for a very strong push right now. We'll be breaking down these destructible rocks quite quickly here with these Void Rays at that full charge. You can see how quickly they whittle away at those destructible rocks. And then here comes that big, strong push. Now, is TroY going to be able to deal with this? I am not sure. It does not look favorable for him right now. TroY does have more supply, but the tech advantage definitely going to RINE right now with those Void Rays and Colossus. If he can just keep that Colossus back and keep those Void Rays alive, he should do pretty well. We do have a couple of Roaches trying to push into the back and actually getting close enough to that Colossus to drop it down, and TroY doing quite a bit of damage. Roach is trying to engage with those Zealots there as well, but there are a lot of Stalkers, there are a lot of Zealots, and again, with 8 gateways of production here from RINE, will be pretty intense. He does have this proxy pylon. There's another Colossus coming out for this push as well, and this is not looking too good right now. TroY being forced to burrow with some of those Roaches. No observers right now for RINE, so he can't actually deal with that. That will allow these Roaches to regenerate a little bit before engaging once more. Roaches streaming across the map, and actually just some sitting idly over here, unfortunately. They should be engaging with the rest of these Roaches here, but no. Looks like he might even be trying to move out for a counterattack. Very interesting. I'm really surprised he doesn't try to just deal with this. Maybe he's concerned that since he can't even deal with these Void Rays at all, he has got no anti-air, that he doesn't even want to bother. But there we go, finally pulling back with those Roaches. Very confused by that maneuver by him. I understand trying to get to the backside of the army or pick off reinforcements, So maybe that was his thought process behind that, but he lost his base as a result, coming out with this additional expansion, but will it be enough? Again, TroY kicking and screaming, trying to keep himself in this game with what few units he has right now, at a disadvantage right now. RINE sitting at that army supply advantage, and those Void Rays, again, that huge tech advantage, and there is the GG from TroY. So thank you guys so much for watching. Typically I do a post-game recap, but I'm actually very short for time. I'm about to head out the door to a little vacation to Las Vegas for the rest of the week. So hopefully you guys just enjoyed the game. In future commentaries, I will make sure I come out with that post-game recap for them. You can, of course, take a look at the commentaries on my channel, Forced SC2 Strategy, right here on YouTube. I do great post-game analysis and also have strategy videos, as well as a ton of Diablo 3 content if that interests you as well. So thanks again for watching. Hopefully you guys appreciated this. Happy to produce content for Machinima Realm. And as always, guys, keep watching and keep owning.